WBLR.com. WBLR.com is where you get your freedom on.
The message that I want to share with you today, family, is taken from Latin words. And the Latin words that I want to share with you, I'll take that. The Latin words that I want to share with you are these. Everybody say ordo, ab chao. Ordo, ab chao. Ordo is Latin for order. Ab, A-B, by the way, spelled O-R-D-O. Ab is Latin for the word from. And chaos is Latin for the word chaos. So when you put the whole thing together from the Latin phrase ordo ab chao, what you're actually saying is order from chaos, or order through chaos, or order out of crisis or disorder. To start off with today, I want to, of course, how many of y'all have heard what's going on in Egypt? If you have not heard, I don't know where you've been. And I have received, and I'm not exaggerating, I have received at least, between Facebook and my email, I have received at least 200 email or inbox messages or on my wall about the Bible said, Dr. Hagins, that what's happening in Egypt was going to happen. And I just thought you should know, Dr. Hagins, that the Bible is right. Because if the Bible wasn't the Word of God, it could not have foretold what's happening right now in Egypt. Well, let's kind of look at the biblical reference that those who don't know any better are referring to. If you will turn in your Bibles to Isaiah 19, the 19th chapter of Isaiah. Let's read what the Bible does say about Egypt. Let's see. Everybody say this while Minister Stewart is finding this text. Repeat after me and say, there's a difference, between prophecy, and long-term planning. Let's say it another way. Say it this way. Repeat after me. What the ignorant call prophecy, those in the know, call an agenda. Okay? It's no secret, brothers and sisters, that you can make plans for centuries in advance. If you're powerful enough to pull it off, those who read about your plans and don't know any better will say that it was prophetic. Isaiah 19 and 1. Notice the very first, notice how this chapter starts off. What does it say?
The burden of Egypt.
Ain't that deep?
Come on, Doc.
The first 4 words.
The burden of Egypt.
The burden of Egypt. Meaning that Egypt is a burden to God.
Come on.
What else does it say?
Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt.
the Lord is riding on a swift cloud and shall come into Egypt
And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence.
and the idols of Egypt. May we call it the evidence, the monuments, the statues, the reliefs, all of that relates to who we are. The actual evidence. I think I shared with y'all in a message one day, no evidence, no argument. What Africans go to Egypt to see as the evidence of our ancient past, Europeans call it idols. Or maybe I should say fundamental Christian thought calls it idols. It says the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. And it's really interesting because I got an email literally telling me that the destruction of the artifacts in the Cairo Museum is the fulfillment of this prophecy. Isn't it something? Now, I don't know, I haven't been back there. And it's really amazing to me that the story that we're being told about the Egyptians' attitude against Mubarak, their leader. Because in the 10 years that I've been going, I haven't seen that kind of attitude toward Mubarak. In fact, all over Egypt, you see his pictures. And as well, he's very well respected according to what I have seen, and I go every year. But those of us who don't go, guess who y'all have to listen to and whose words you have to take? CNN, ABC News, Fox News, what the CIA wants you to think. And so you need to understand why the CIA wants you to think that the people of Egypt don't want Mubarak as their leader. Because if they can muster up enough resentment in your mind against Mubarak, then you won't feel bad about your leadership when they invade Egypt. Do you understand what I'm saying? Again, y'all, what is today's message? Ordo ab chaos. Read on, Minister Stewart.
And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it.
The heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of the presence of God in Egypt. Now, mind you, you got to remember, God consciousness came from Egypt. It came from the Nile Valley. So who is this God who's going to ride into Egypt, okay, and break down the greatness of Egypt? Who is this God?
Come on.
What God are we talking about here?
Come on, sir.
Notice this is another email I got on this next verse. Of course, this is supposedly God speaking through somebody named Isaiah. I repeat, it's supposedly God speaking through somebody named Isaiah. Well, I need to let you know, Isaiah never existed. There was no Isaiah. I'm sorry, y'all out there who thought he was. There was one. No, Isaiah, and I know you really need the book of Isaiah. I know you do. You need it because the book of Isaiah told you that a virgin was going to be born.
Come on, talk about that verse.
I know you need the book of Isaiah because the book of Isaiah tells you with his stripes we are healed and all that kind of stuff. And you need that book. But I stand here to let you know today, contrary to popular opinion, Isaiah never existed. So everything that's written in Isaiah was written under the thing of what's called false attribution.
Come on.
Understand what I mean. False attribution is when I want to say something and attribute it to someone else. Y'all know how y'all do when y'all want stuff done and you call somebody else and say, well, Pastor Ray said. That's called false attribution. Because see, or you call somebody and say, well, honey, the Lord said. God ain't said no such thing. But the reason for the false attribution is because they know that you will have more respect for what's said and accept it better. So here Isaiah is supposedly speaking for God. And what does it say in the next verse, Minister Stewart?
And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Come on, Doc.
God says, supposedly,
That's what he's supposed to.
that I, the Almighty, am going to set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So there's going to be civil war.
Look at that. Come on.
Go ahead.
And they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom.
Come on, Dirk.
Now I got that verse this week from somebody saying, see, Brother Ray, turn on the news and you can see that happening right now. Next verse, what does it say?
And the spirit of Egypt shall fail
Wow.
in the midst thereof.
This great, awesome, historic country shall fail in the midst thereof. Go ahead.
And I will destroy the counsel thereof.
In other words, all of the wisdom that comes from Egypt.
And they shall seek to the idols,
And they're going to turn
and to the charmers,
to idols and to charmers.
and to them that have familiar spirits.
In other words, notice what this is really about. Now, the three categories that she just read in the next phrase too, go ahead and read it.
and to the wizards.
And to the wizards. Those four categories in Judeo-Christian thought and fundamental Christian thought is called witchcraft. Got me? So in other words, the great wisdom of ancient Egypt is going to be moot. It's going to amount to nothing. And these great people are going to end up resorting to anything but God. Read.
And the Egyptians will I give over
Uh-oh.
into the hands of a cruel lord.
Uh-oh. Hear this. See what's getting ready to happen. And hear this. And the Egyptians, God supposedly said, I'm going to give Egypt over into the hands of a cruel Lord.
Come on, Dr. Ray. Come on.
Not Lord Almighty, but a cruel overseer.
That's right. Go ahead. Come on.
Another political power.
Teach.
Are y'all getting this?
Y'all get it?
What does it say next?
And a fierce king shall rule over them,
And a fierce king
Fiercely.
said the Lord of hosts.
shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. These are the verses that I was bombarded with this week
Yes.
by many who read my posts on Facebook and who've heard my lectures on Black Liberation Radio. Let's go to verse 23 now, 23, 24, and 25, and conclude this so-called prophecy. And then I'm going to extinguish this prophecy
Come on.
with their same book.
I like that. Say that again. Extinguish it.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's
23, 24, 25. What does it say?
In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria.
Wow. Notice the countries here. Assyria. Israel. Okay? A highway. In other words, an alliance, a political arrangement. Read.
And the Assyrians shall come into Egypt.
The Assyrians will come into Egypt, yes.
And the Egyptian into Assyria.
Yes.
And the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians.
Wow. The Egyptians will serve with the Assyrians. Go ahead.
In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria.
Wow, isn't that deep? Egypt and Assyria are going to serve Israel.
Come on.
Wow.
Teach us, Doc.
Are y'all hearing this?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Even a blessing in the midst of the land.
In other words, Israel coming into the picture is going to be a blessing for everybody. And of course, who's Israel? Supposedly Jews.
So-called.
So-called, yes. Right? Oh, this is some deep stuff here, because you see, the United Snakes of America
Come on.
is now in a peculiar situation, because the United Snakes of America has a commitment to Israel. I'll say it slower. Is for ISIS, Ra for the Egyptian name of the Almighty, El, the prefix of God. Israel. Okay, come on. United States is committed to support Israel, and the United States is committed to support Egypt.
Wow.
We got a situation here, because the United States of America don't really care about either one of them. It's about positioning themselves for power
That's right.
in the Middle East. You follow what I'm saying?
Come on, Doctor.
Read the last verse there.
This is a bestseller.
Whom the Lord of hosts shall bless,
The-
saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people.
Oh, wait a minute. Whoa. Wait a minute. This chapter started out by saying the burden of Egypt. This chapter started out by saying that God was going to ride into Egypt and tear it down.
Right.
Now it ends by saying that God is going to say, Blessed be Egypt, my people. How did it get to that? Because of a change in government. You grabbing this? In other words, after the new democracy is in place, then all of a sudden Egypt will become a place after God's own heart. Finish it. What does it say?
And Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, mine inheritance.
Now, that was from Isaiah 19. Do y'all mind if I just go on and turn to their own Bible and cancel out that entire prophecy? You see, in the Bible, this is what happens when the ignorant, and y'all don't be offended when I say the ignorant. When I say the ignorant, I mean you don't know. Okay, this is when you are a proponent of what is called segmented biblical attention. When you want to find verses in the Bible to say what you want it to say. Well, let's see what the Bible says is the acid test for prophecy. Everybody say the acid test for prophecy. That'll preach. Turn to Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter, and I believe it's the last three verses in that chapter. I believe it may be verse 21. Is it 21, 22, and 20, 21, 22?
Of the prophet.
Is it verse? Read verse 21 and 22. Then I'm going to come back and do verse 20.
Verse 21 says, And if thou...
Now listen, y'all. Listen to this. Here is what the same God supposedly said about whether a prophecy is real or not. Y'all got this? Okay. Go on, read it.
And if thou say in thine heart,
Yes?
How shall we know the word which the Lord hath not spoken?
How shall we know the word which the Lord hath not spoken? Because of course, evidently you got some false prophets and some things that people say God said, God didn't say. Right? Read on.
When a prophet speaketh...
Listen carefully. Say it again.
When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord... When
a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, what must happen?
If the thing follow not...
Listen. If the thing follow not. In other words, if it does not happen, go ahead.
Nor come to pass.
Nor come to pass exactly like the prophet said it's going to come to pass. What happens?
That is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken.
Then God didn't say it. Did y'all hear me?
Yes.
But guess what, y'all? I'm not finished with the acid test. The deep part of this acid test is verse 20. Read verse 20. What does it say?
But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name.
Which shall presume to speak as God's mouthpiece. Go ahead.
Which I have not commanded him to speak.
Who I didn't send, by the way. Go ahead.
Or that shall speak in the name of other gods.
Or shall be presumptuous and speak in the name of other gods.
Even that prophet shall die.
Read that last part again.
Even that prophet shall die.
That person, that prophet, that preacher, that pastor shall be put to death.
Come on. Come on.
Now, Brother Ray, what are you saying? The acid test for whether a prophecy is legitimate or not, according to the verse we just read, there is no such thing as long-term prophecy. According to what we just read, when the prophet speaks, it's got to happen within his lifetime. Or he can't be penalized. So it says, if the prophet says something is going to happen and it doesn't happen, kill him. Which means the principle of legitimate prophecy, according to your Bible, Christians, the principle of legitimate prophecy is whatever you're saying is going to happen, man, it better be happening within the next couple of decades, not 2 millennium later. How you going to go back and raise Isaiah up and kill him now? You can't. If we really follow, take that back. If y'all really follow the Bible like you say you do, there'd be a whole lot of dead preachers today. How many evangelists have come to town and prophesied a blessing in your life? Have prophesied that you're going to be healed of that broken leg. You're going to be healed of that cancer. You're going to be... How many prophets have come? I remember, as I'm saying this, I'm remembering, I see it so clearly, like I was just there yesterday. I see the prophet who told my mother, Dr. Gilmore, God absolutely told me, Dr. Gilmore, that you're not going to die. You're going to be raptured. I'll never forget when that was said. My mother leaped, she jumped up, started running around the church. Folks started running around the church behind her. Because she wasn't going to die. She was going to be raptured. Some of y'all went to her funeral, didn't you? Yeah, she wasn't raptured. That prophet is still living. He better be glad I don't follow the Bible. Because according to what we just read, if it don't happen like you said, you are to be put to death. That's another whole lecture in itself. Let me get back to the message that I want to talk about today, Ordo ab Chao. Those of you who are watching on the internet, you can do this as I'm speaking to you. You can Google something called the Protocols of Zion. That's Protocols. Protocols of Zion. If you want to follow along with me, pull it up now and pull up protocol number 2. And here's what it says, so that you will know. Protocols of Zion of the wise men or wise elders of Zion were minutes of a meeting that was held by some very powerful Jews a couple of hundred years ago. How long ago did I say? A couple of hundred years ago, yes. Here's what these Jews, these powerful world rulers said a couple of hundred years ago. And protocol number 2, listen carefully. You may want to call this prophecy too, huh? But they don't call it prophecy because it ain't in the Bible. Here's what it says. It is indispensable for our purpose that wars, so far as possible, should not result in territorial gains. Did you hear that? I'll say it again. It is indispensable for our purposes that wars, so far as possible, should not result in territorial gains. War will thus be brought on to the economic ground, where the nations will not fail to perceive in the assistance we give the strength to our predominance. And this state of things will put both sides at the mercy. Remember, order ab Chao now, order out of crisis, will put both sides at the mercy of our international agentur. In other words, they're saying that they will set up international agents whose job it will be to literally go into other countries and overthrow them. You're going to see that next Sunday. Which possesses millions of eyes ever on the watch and unhampered by any limitations whatsoever. Notice what it goes on to say. Our international rights will then wipe out national rights. In the proper sense of right, and will rule the nations precisely as the civil law of states rules the relations of their subjects among themselves. In other words, they're telling you, brothers and sisters, they planned a couple of hundred years ago that they're going to take other lands. Point 2 of protocol number 2, notice what it says. Listen to this good. The administrators, meaning the leaders of the countries, whom we shall choose from among the public. Don't take my word for it. Read it. Those of you pull it up, read it. Protocol number 2.2. The administrators whom we shall choose from among the public with strict regard to their capacity for servile obedience. Are y'all hearing this? I mean, are you really? In other words, it's saying the leaders of countries, we will choose them based on their capacity for their servile obedience to our agenda. Are y'all really hearing that? Yes. Does that include Barack Obama? Yes. You better doggone Skippy it does. It goes on to say, the administrators whom we shall choose from among the public with strict regard to their capacity for servile obedience, check this out now, will not be persons trained in the arts of government. Will not be persons trained in the art of government, and will therefore easily become pawns in our game in the hands of men of learning and genius who will be their advisors. Who's Barack's advisor? It's a big new Brzezinski, exactly. Specialists bred and reared from early childhood to rule the affairs of the whole world. As is well known to you, these specialists of ours have been drawing to fit them for the information they need from our political plans and from the lessons of history, from observations made of the events of every moment as it passes. The Goyim, everybody say Goyim. Goyim, by the way, is the Hebrew word for Gentiles, or cattle, or those who don't know what's really going on. The Goyim are not guided by practical use of unprejudiced historical observation, but by theoretical routine without any critical regard for consequent results. Notice what it goes on to say, so therefore, we don't need to take any account of them, have no regard for any account of them. Check it out. It says, let them amuse themselves until the hour strikes, or live on hopes of new forms of enterprising pastime, or on the memories of all they have enjoyed. For them, let that play the principal part which we have persuaded them to accept as the dictates of science or theory. Brothers and sisters, as I look at this, as I see what's going on, it's really deep, y'all, because I don't know if I announced to you guys before this stuff started happening that I'm not going to Egypt this year. And it's deep how my spirit said that. You know, don't even push the issue, man. Don't even worry about going to Egypt this year. You know, I love how the ancestors do that. You know? Nothing in life happens without a reason. Nothing in life happens without a purpose. It was President Franklin Delano Roosevelt who said, and I'm sure you might have heard me say this before, President Franklin Roosevelt said these words, and I quote him, "In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can believe it was planned that way." I know we think our vote has something to do with making things better. Not so, brothers and sisters. Not in the scheme of things. After understanding how this government works and seeing how they implement their agenda for chaos, I'm not surprised at what's going on in Egypt. If you remember, I did a lecture not too long ago called Africom. And in that lecture, I let you know that out of the 53 countries in Egypt, or 54 countries in Egypt, Africom is 53 of them. The only country that wasn't included in Africom was Egypt. Y'all hearing this? The only country that wasn't included in Africom was Egypt. And Africom, for those of you who didn't hear the message, is the United States military takeover of every country in Africa. Every one. Every one. If the United States military takes over every country in Africa, then who's the commander-in-chief of Africa? The President of the United States of America. Egypt is under something called CENTCOM. But in order for the United States to truly have power in Egypt, they must establish a military base there. You see, order out of crisis. What they do is they set their eyes on a territory that they want to possess. And you know what this country does? They buy them. They send in money, like $3.5 billion a year in military aid. I don't understand it. I don't understand why this country feels they have to send all this money to other countries when we got folk who are homeless, living on the sidewalk. You can't even get health care. Y'all hear what I'm saying? $1 billion, just one, would take the homeless and put them in a decent flat, as they would call it. But no, I didn't mean to say we. I didn't mean to say we. This country feels that God has appointed it to be the constable of the world. Let's get down to the bottom line here. I gotta go here. How many of you guys ever heard of the Masonic Order? You've heard of it before? Yes. Good. On Masonic temples around the country, all over the country, you'll see the words inscribed in concrete, Ordo ab Chao. It's the motto of 32nd degree masonry. Ordo ab Chao. Which means we're going to create order. We're going to make things happen the way we want it to happen as a result of creating crisis. Let me give you another analogy that you might be able to relate to more intimately. How many young black men got killed here in North St. Louis within the last year? Right, we don't know. Too many, right? Well, how do you think that's happening? Somebody is creating a crisis. I got a message just this morning, early this morning, Dr. Hagins, what is your opinion of video games for children where they're killing? My reply was, I think that the parents need a whipping. When you let your child absorb the violence, Elder just talked about it, that's in these video games now, you, especially parent, when you buy the game for your child, you are sending the subliminal message to that child that killing someone is okay. It's like a game. So if they can kill on television and win, when they grow up, somebody puts a gun in their hand. Who made the weapons that these children are carrying? We didn't make it. But you know what's getting ready to happen? They're getting ready to usher in control in our society, in our neighborhoods. They're getting ready to implement programs, and you know what you're going to do about it? You're going to say, thank you. They're going to implement programs to take away your civil liberties because you asked for the help. In other words, let's flood the black community with drugs. Let's flood the black community with weapons. Let's send all of this into the black community so the black community can start committing genocide through homicide and fratricide. And make the black folks say, y'all need to come do something. Y'all need to come help us. Y'all need to come send some help up in here. So then they put this proposition on a bill at election time, and you vote A. Proposition A or Proposition B, whatever they list it as, not realizing that you're giving up your own civil liberties. It's called order out of chaos. You see, brothers and sisters, the powers that be sets blacks against whites, Jews against Gentiles. Y'all hear what I just said? Do y'all know that Egypt is an Arab country? It's an Arab country. Since when did the United States of America develop a friendship for Muslims? If they're acting like they're friends, trust me, it's because they want something. Like oil, like position for military power. Poor Mubarak. The man has been in office, what, over 30 years? Over 30 years. That's not unusual in the African culture. In the African culture, the king stays the king until he dies. Ain't nothing new. In the democratic culture that we're in, the king is only the king for 4 years, at the most 8. And notice I said the king, not the president. Yeah, really. Yeah, actually, I shouldn't call him king, because a king can do what he wants to do. A president has to do what the board of directors of the corporation tell him to do. Are y'all following what I'm saying? When did Barack go to Egypt? Wasn't that long ago, was it?
07.
Barack goes to Egypt, sits down with Mubarak, And then Barak sits down with Mubarak. Okay? He promises him his support. He promises him his alliance and allegiance to see to it that Egypt shall be okay. How do you do that? And then a couple of years later, you stand up and tell the whole world, I'm calling for him to step down. You see, the thing is, and let me just kind of give you a synopsis of what's happening here. The man is old. He looks good, though. I ain't talking about Barak now. I'm talking about Mubarak. He's old. He's not well. He doesn't have many more years left. And you see, the guy who preceded Mubarak was a guy by the name of Anwar Sadat. And the United States of America was behind the assassination of Anwar Sadat because Sadat wouldn't play ball with America. Everybody say American U.S. foreign objectives. I said that wrong. Everybody say foreign policy objectives. That's what we're dealing with here. What is the foreign policy objective of this country? How many of y'all remember Pinky and the Brain? I see some young folks' hand going up. Yeah. Remember Pinky and the Brain? They were telling you in the cartoons. There were two mice. One was stupid as I don't know what, who represented the masses. And then there was one little short one with a real big head called the Brain, who represented the world leaders. And at the end of every episode, Pinky would say to the Brain, "What are we going to do tomorrow, Brain?" And the Brain would say to the dumb mouse, Pinky, "The same thing we do every day, Pinky. Try and take over the world."
Wow.
That's what it's about, family. This is about manifest destiny. This is about a program that's so subtle. Woodrow Wilson said it this way: there is a power so subtle and so pervasive that if you're going to speak against it, you better not speak above a whisper. I guess, well, I'm speaking above a whisper today. They set Jews against Gentiles. Jews against Gentiles. Jews against Arabs. They made up this story and put it in the Bible and call it God's promise to Abraham. You follow what I'm saying? That's why these countries are at war with each other. Because of land that God promised to Abraham's seed. Well, see, it's a real deep thing. Now you see why Abraham has to exist. Because if Abraham doesn't exist, then that means God didn't make no promise to Abraham. And this war that's going on between Jews and Arabs needs to come to a stop. Because the whole reason why they're fighting each other is because the Arabs are saying that the promise was made to Ishmael, who never existed. And the Jews are saying that God's promise was made to Isaac, who never existed. So if Ishmael and Isaac never existed, then this whole lie about a promise of God is a lie. But if the people come to realize that, they'll stop fighting each other, and the powers that be can't do their thing. Oh man, I wish I didn't know the stuff I know. Sometimes, I have to be honest with y'all, sometimes, every now and then, I miss the days of ignorance. Every now and then. Y'all ever hear that phrase, ignorance is bliss? Every now and then I miss the days of ignorance where I didn't know what was going on. Every now and then I miss the days of ignorance when I didn't understand the corruption in police departments across this country and the wickedness in city halls across this country. Every now and then I wished but evidently the ancestors didn't have it that way. God didn't have it that way. And the reason why these people can play their games with the minds of the people of the world is because we are in the dark. If we get our eyes open, if we free our minds from this control mechanism. But then again, what good is it, Brother Brady, if we free our minds and don't speak up?
There it is, right there.
What good is it? What good is what I'm saying if we don't disseminate what I'm saying? What good is it, man, if we don't get other people to know so that the people that we have faith in can stop pulling the wool over our eyes? What good is it? Wow. Stability for the United States of America, the country that has military bases in every other country in the world. Stability for this country. Isn't it deep? God bless America. I just saw something. I'm not going to say it though, because that'll just make somebody say, "Let's go get him." No, I ain't gonna say it. See, ain't you something? He want me to say it. I thought you loved me, dude. I thought you loved me, man. You know, under the Patriot Act now, okay, all they have to do is think that you are speaking against the government. They don't have to have evidence. Got what I'm saying? Okay? Well, hey, y'all come on. Then I'll just witness to those in prison. The United States and Islamist Egypt. Wow. Yes, Islamic, man. Do y'all not know that if Islamist Egypt truly became Islamist again, that would be catastrophic for the United States of America? In other words, Mubarak didn't stay in office 30 years because he upholds fundamentalist Islam. Hear what I'm saying? You see, the United States is trying to get in there, okay, because the oncoming generation is saying, let's go back to the ways of Islam. And Islam sees America as the big Satan. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? In other words, the next ruler, unless they are under United States control, be a big problem. Because of the way things are set up now, there's peace between Egypt and Israel. You got me? And the United States of America is like the moderator between the two. But that's because Mubarak had made alliances. Again, they assassinated Sadat. The next person to come in, if the United States is not careful, is going to take Egypt back to what it was when Anwar Sadat was the leader. Do you follow what I'm saying? And at this point, if that happens, Israel is in trouble. Because Israel does not have the military might to defeat Egypt. Y'all see where this is going? Yeah. And if Egypt defeats, if a true fundamentalist Islam regime comes in to rule Egypt, they're going to say to the United States, get your behind out of the Middle East. You got me? And they're going to say, Israel, we're getting ready to get you. Which means that the United States is going to have to take sides with Israel. Can anybody tell me why? Huh? Well, so, yeah. But it even goes back before that. The Bible. Yeah. Because this is a Judeo-Christian nation. You got this? Muhammad is not the primary figure of the religion of America. Jesus is. Y'all got this? There's some serious stuff here. In the name of religion. When Jesus or Muhammad didn't exist. But this religious stuff got people at odds with each other, going to war. Everybody repeat after me. People never do wrong as strong as when they do it in the name of religion. The great loser would be Israel. Yeah, buddy. So therefore, the United States has to do whatever it has to do to maintain their agenda. And for those of you that's listening, that includes sending many of your children to war. Guess you say, Brother Ray, where are you going with this? I'm trying to educate you so that you don't play into the hands of their agenda. Don't let that happen. Crisis creation. Do you not know how many, y'all is blowing my mind now. When I go through the airport, how many young people, children I see. Children coming through in military uniform. Well, they look like children to me at this point in my life. I mean, when I was in, I guess I looked like a child to those who were older too. But I'm looking at these young people who are joining the military because they can't get jobs. Crisis creation. You can't provide jobs and employment for our youth, for our unemployed, but you can send $3.5 billion in military aid to another country. Wow. If the advocates for democracy win, by the way, y'all, what is democracy? What is that?
No.
What is it? What in the world is democracy? Democracy is a lie. Democracy, by definition, is a government of the people, for the people, by the people. And yet they call United States a democracy. This is not a democracy, y'all. No. If anything, it's a, how do you say the word? Oligarchy? Oligarchy? Where a few at the top rule the entire body. That's what this is. What they do is they tell you to go vote so you can think you have some say in it. if they don't put in place their puppet, you think you've seen trouble? Trouble is coming unless the United States succeed in their agenda, which is still more trouble. Wow. The geopolitical arrangements that exist in our society are satanic. I got to tell it like it is. They're satanic, and they don't have the best interests of the people at heart. And we have to start learning how to equip ourselves to deal with this beast that we're living in. I know some of you are asleep, and you want to stay that way so that you don't have to deal with the beast. Not realizing that the beast is destroying you while you're sleeping. Eating at you, decomposing you while you're in your sleep. One of these days, I pray that it happens before I stop breathing. But I really want to see us get serious about creating an economic entity where we won't have to ask the powers that be to help us do anything. I want to see that happen. You don't think it's going to make it? You don't think it's going to happen? Not while she said no. She said she just took my hope away. But again, it's hope, right? Brothers and sisters, I need you to petition the ancestors and the Almighty to help equip us for the drama that's coming. Did y'all hear what I said? Okay, we're looking at stuff that's going on in Egypt, and right now, that's the focus because that's what the media is telling us, and that's all we see. But Egypt is not the only place where drama is going on right now. Drama is going on right on your front doorstep. You hear what I'm saying? And I want you to start taking this message, take what I just told you today, and understand that they are trying to establish their agenda by creating a crisis in your environment. Wow. Okay. I'm finished. I feel like I'm talking to a wall, but I hope it makes sense to you. I'm pleading with you guys. I'm pleading with you. I see how the program is working. I read a letter just last week of another one of our young people who got caught up in the system. They're doing all this stuff, man, and they're getting us. And I got so angry as I was reading the letter, I just put it down. I haven't even dealt with it. I haven't even dealt with it because it's like I'm talking youth who sit and you sat and listened. You sat and heard what I said. You heard what I said. You've been listening. And then you went out and played right into the hands of the system. We got to stop that, man. Got to stop that. Promise me that you're going to do better. Just say, I will.
I will.
Open the eyes of somebody else. Use your Facebook page. How many of y'all on Facebook, by the way? Okay, yeah. Use your Facebook page to share what I just told you today with someone else, and then ask them to share it with somebody else, so that it will exponentially expand this information, so that people can wake up and stop supporting the devil. Yeah, I called him the devil. Elijah Muhammad wasn't wrong about that. The powers that be are satanic. See, the problem is Elijah Muhammad said the white man is the devil, so now because we got a chocolate man, you think it don't apply. Did y'all hear what I said? The system is satanic. It could be a green dude in office. It's the system that's evil. And we got to stop supporting it, man. Okay, I said I was finished. Let me sit down. Ashe.
Ashe.
Well,
WBLR.com. WBLR.com is where you get your freedom on. Liberation for the nation. Ooh. With Brother Ray Hagins. 24/7. Yeah, yeah. Oh. WBLR.com. Freedom on. WBLR.com with Brother Ray Hagins.